When it comes to choosing the right file format for your interactive documents, one approach you could take is to think about the features that matter most to you, and then see which file formats support those features. In this movie, we'll take a look at a very handy table that shows every feature in InDesign for building interactivity and which file formats support those features and which ones don't. You can find the PDF in the Exercise Files folder in Chapter 9, Lesson 1. The first page of the PDF shows the kinds of files you can export with interactivity: interactive PDF, SWF, EPUB and HTML, and the Adobe Digital Publishing Suite, or DPS. So let's go through this table and talk about some of the items in it. First, we have Preserve Layout Appearance, which is one of the fundamental questions you first have to ask when you're planning to convert or create documents for interactivity. Are you trying to use InDesign as the primary design tool for your layout? Or will you create formatting some other way? The formats that will replicate the look of your InDesign pages are interactive PDF, SWF, and DPS. EPUB HTML is a different story. Although you do have some control over the formatting of text and objects that you can set up in InDesign, there's always going to be additional work after you export with things like CSS code. And in most cases, these formats allow the person viewing your document to change its appearance, changing the fonts and size of text and so on. Fixed layout EPUBs give you more control over the final product. If accessibility is important to you, then you're limited to the formats where you can export structured content, PDF and EPUB HTML. Remember, what creates the look of pages in DPS is essentially an image. If you want to be able to adapt layouts to fit multiple screen sizes and orientations on mobile devices, your only choice is DPS. When it comes to animation, you're limited to SWF if you want to use InDesign's animation tools, but you can put animations created with Adobe Edge into EPUB, HTML, and DPS. Buttons for navigating and interacting with content on the page have mixed support in most file formats. There's a lot of detail you can get into when it comes to buttons, so there's a separate table dealing with them on page 2 of this PDF that we'll look at in a minute. Right here, the point is that buttons don't work in EPUB and HTML. If you want to use InDesign's form tools, your only choice is PDF. Hyperlinks and media like audio and video are supported in all formats. But if you want the animated page turn effect, your only choice is SWF. And remember that SWF is based on Adobe's Flash technology, so it won't work on mobile devices like the iPad. Multi-state objects, which can be very powerful tools for creating interactivity, are only supported in SWF and DPS. Okay, let's look at Table 2 on the next page and see the details of button support. Here we have the same file formats, and on the left are all the possible actions you can attach to a button. Again, you'll notice that none of these work in EPUB and HTML. The greatest support for buttons is in interactive PDF, where almost all actions work. But the exceptions are some important ones. You can't click a button to go to a specific page in an interactive PDF. Instead, you might create a specific destination on the page where the button can take you. Also notice that multi-state object actions are not supported in PDF. Support for buttons is also very good in SWF, including multi-state objects, but again, SWFs aren't going to work on mobile devices like iPads. In DPS, you have good support for page-based navigation buttons, but you can't use the Go-To destination action. You also can't show and hide other buttons, but you can more than make up for this loss with the full support of going to states in a multi-state object. So with the information in this table as a guide, you can start to narrow the choices for what kind of interactive document is right for your purposes. Next, we'll start our look at the workflows for each kind of interactive document.